Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the build. We are now on part 5 of our Enterprise D build, so let's get right to... Okay, so I forgot to show this off last time. I thought I had a shot of this, but apparently I didn't. Yeah, this is what the bottom looks like, all decaled up, with all the kit decals, all those lifeboats and transporter pads, and the Aztecs on there. So that's what the bottom of the nacelles and the hull and the neck look like. So I'd show that off before it gets hung upside down and you'll never see this again. Okay, so we have our base here. I got a coat of gloss black on here. You can see it looks a little rough. Let's see. I think I got a little bit of the clear coat on it when I was clear coating the secondary hull over there. I had it on here for the top, and I think I got a little overspray on the base. I didn't realize that, and just put a coat of black over it, and so now it looks a little janky. So I'm gonna have to go and I'll just wet sand this and put another coat on top of that. But I'm looking at the base because I'm trying to think here. As you can see, there is an overhang. So there's enough of an overhang in between here and the edge, when you flip it over, to get some wires out here and pull them to any various sides. I think I'm going to do this. This would be the easiest, to put my switch here and then my power jack there. I will have to cut down somewhere in here because we have our flasher circuit, which we're going to want to put in somewhere. I'm thinking I'm going to put that here. Cut down a little bit of this reinforcement, just a little bit, enough to snake some wires through here. I'm just to, you really don't need to, because again, the overlap is quite a bit. I mean, you got like about that much overlap between the edge of this when you flip it over. It's hard to tell, but yeah. But I just want to make sure, so I can just cut down a little bit of this edge and I'll run the wires through there. Yeah, we do have our flasher circuit. I got this from SDM Productions. He kindly sent this over to me. He was nice enough to program it. He timed it out to the intro of the next generation, the flashes. So this should be spot on to that timing. I did take it out and test it, and it looks really good. I had to mark it off to make sure I had everything running correctly. These two go out to power. So these two are my power, and these two go to the ship. So yeah, we're going to mount that in one of these sides here, whichever we decide, probably over here. Looks like it just fit it down in there, hopefully. And the bag's in the way right now, but yeah, that'll fit right in there. It's hard to process that with the bag in the way, but it should fit in there. I don't want to take it out of the bag because it's protecting it. Even though he did a great job with this, he actually wired this thing up and he hot glued and he did all this extra fancy stuff that he really didn't need to, but he did. So, need to get my switch in, and I need to get the power jack in and that in. I think what I want to do is mount the drive section, get some epoxy on there, mount the drive section permanently, because that's ready to go. The clear coat's dry on it, and all it needs to do is be mounted. That, on the other hand, has some work to be done on it. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, that's why I'm kind of wondering about this. What I'm going to do is something I've never done before, and something will be fun to try. Normally I just estimate the size, or I take a ruler and I go, okay, it's about this big, and then I'll drill a hole based on that. But now that I have my handy dandy calipers, which are actually put away, they're over there. They're that way. They're right there. Now that I have those, I can measure the exact size in millimeters of the base, and then I can cut a hole that's more exacting for my mounts. It took a long time to say that little thing. I'm going to get back to work. Okay, so our saucer is pretty much ready for For clear coat, still testing the tackiness of some of this. Think it's ready to go though. Because of the way I asked it to redo the bottom, I did have to wet sand some of this. It still looks a little noodly, but I'm going to be putting the Aztecs over here, so you're not going to notice it as much. I did clean off the fiber optics, so now they're all clear, so I can cut them down to where I need them. I might have to re-green the green, because it doesn't look as nice as it did. I don't know what happened there. The red still looks pretty good, but yeah, so I've redone this. Had to redo some of the windows. Redid those. This edge was the most light leaky. It took me quite a while. I actually had to, I had this thing plugged in, and I had all the lights off. This is at night, obviously. It's not night right now, but at night. And I had all the lights off, and I had some paint in a cup, and I was dipping my brush, this brush into it. And I was trying to, in the dark, trying to, because there was just so many light leaks along this edge. So when you build yours, make sure to light block this as best you can in other methods other than just gluing the dang thing together and hoping. Because this stupid thing is just all light leaks, all along the edge. I painted this probably 2 or 3 times to get it, and it probably still have light leaks. But yeah, so I think I'm actually going to do this this way. I'm going to clear coat the bottom, and we'll start our decals on the bottom, and then get that all situated and move to the top here. Oh, that's the one thing that stinks about having these long is you catch it on stuff. You catch the fiber optics on stuff, and it pulls stuff away. But it's okay. So yeah, I think I'm gonna get a clear coat on that today, and get a couple of them. I want a nice thick coat because the it didn't turn out so well on this side. You can see all the and actually on the top side too. It doesn't look so great. I'm not really happy with how that turned out. You can see a lot of silvering on the decals. From a distance, they don't look too bad, but up close, it doesn't look the greatest. You can see it in there. So I want to get a nice couple of thick coats of gloss clear on this to hopefully mitigate that. And the reason that happened is because I stupidly left the details, the hull details in place. Those raised details, I should have knocked those down all over the ship, because that's what really been problematic for me. Is that's been the biggest deal. That's why I have all the silvering and all the air trapped underneath. I've tried to do poke holes and get bubbles in them, but it's still not very 100%y. So I should have sanded that off, which is fine in some places. In some places on the nacelles, and most of this detail can just come off because it's kind of mirroring what the decals are doing anyways. But in some places, like for where the transporter pads are, you kind of need it, and where the lifeboats are, you kind of need those raised areas. Everything around them can come down. It's the same thing on the primary, the saucer here. Some of the details are actually correct to the studio model, like these little sunbursts on the side. Those are correct. You don't want to get those sanded down. And this thing too, that goes around the captain's yacht, that's correct. And if we flip it over, the stuff up here is correct too. This little sundial that goes around the bridge is correct. So whereas you might want to get rid of some of this stuff, what you don't want to get rid of are the raised lifeboats. So I would get rid of all this. Try to keep the lifeboats in place, at least enough to where you could see where they would have been, just to make decal placement easier. That's the only reason. I mean, otherwise you could just, and even that. I mean, you look at this, you look at the squareness of this panel, right? And you look at how awkwardly placed those are. That's off. It's closer. You look, this one's closer to this edge than this one. This one goes up, so that's off by a little bit. And they're all kind of off by a little bit. So maybe getting rid of those isn't such a big deal. Some of them aren't, though. That's the worst one I've seen so far, that one. These are good, these are good, these are good, those are pretty good, those are pretty good. Those are a little off. those aren't bad. But yeah, those for some reason, those are wonky. The ones on either side of the these set of windows are a little wonky. Otherwise, the rest don't look too bad. So yeah, I would advise. It's a little late in the game for me to do this. Otherwise, I just have to repaint everything, and I don't want to go through that rigmarole right now. But yeah, so I'm gonna get to work putting a clear coat on here and letting that dry, putting as many on as I need for it to get nice and smooth, and then we're gonna start with the decals. Okay, we have our Aztecs down for the bottom of the saucer, and they're very shiny because I have gloss paint on here, but as you can see, they went down. They went down fairly well, a little finicky, very fragile. I did break a few, but I can't even tell where I broke them anymore. Some of these decals are very large. I will pull out the sheet for the top of the saucer here. As you can see, these are the pie pieces for the top of the saucer. Some of these are very, very large. The nice thing about these, though, is they always stop. The edge of the decal for the saucer will always be at a grid line. So this was one decal right here, and it stopped at this grid line. This is one decal right here, and it stopped at this grid line. And this one actually was right here, is 3 grid lines long, and the rest were about 2. And then the final, the center one here, was just 1. But if that's too big for you, if you don't like the 2, because that's kind of big to do 2 at once, you can cut them in half. They do have very specific, and you can see where they separate. Like let's look at this one. This is going to be 3 panel lines, and you can see the separation right there. You can see the edge there. You can see the edge there. So if you want to kind of try to mitigate the giantness of these, because you can see those 2 are huge, you could cut them up. And again, like right here is the line. Here's the grid line, where the grid line will line up, and right there. So that is that. I am now ready to add the kit decals to this puppy. As I said, I have a gloss coat on the hull right now, and I'm getting ready this morning. Today, I will be doing that. This right here took me about 2.5 hours to get all these guys in place. The kit decals, let's bring in the instruction book, might take a little longer. That is the saucer right there. Oy, oy, oy. That's a lot of lifeboats. I think for my sanity, I'm going to start from the center and move out. Because otherwise, oh boy. So yeah, so I'm going to be doing probably the transporter pads and these ones first, and then I'll move out onto the other ones on the edge. And of course these little decals down by the those things. I do have decals that go on. They need to go on. It doesn't show it, but there are tons of those little chevrons that go at the edges of the phaser arrays. So those will be going on. Yeah, that's today. That's the mission statement today, is decals. And if I get them on, if they get all dried and all set in place, I will put the final coat of clear on here, the dull coat, and then we can flip her over. We can start on the top. So I'm going to get to work with this, and I'll catch you guys when I'm done. And hopefully still sane. You know what has been the power tool for this build? Anything in here? You thinking? Thinking anything in there? Maybe this guy right here? Maybe the soldering iron? No. This guy right here. Toothy. He's the last one. There was many of his number, and they vanished into thin air. I usually put like 10 or 11 of them right there, and for some unknown reason they vanished. The floor monster will eat them or whatever, and I'll end up with one. For some reason, and I don't understand why, but for some reason, I'll end up with one, and it keeps holding on. And when the ends get too full of glue, I'll chop him down until he's about this big. You can see he's got putty on this end. He's got paint on this end. I used them to paint some of the windows. I used them to put putty into some of these joints here around the engines here and here and here. Yeah, for some reason, and I'll keep hold of them for months and months and months, even though I have hundreds of toothpicks downstairs. But yeah, here's the power tool for the build. And it's great for moving decals too. You know, you use your fingers, you might get a little bit too much, move them too far, which did several times on here, until I started to gently, by the way, use your toothpick and move them over to the side. And why is this wet? Anyways, oh, it's just cold. It's that. But yeah, I'll just gently move them out of the way, because I have broken some of these with the toothpick. If you get a little bit too out of hand on here, I think what I'm doing right now is procrastinating from that. So I'll get back to work. And that's what it looks like, all decaled up. Got all of those lifeboats on there, and that nice registry up front. But yeah, that took about 2 hours. And it wasn't placing the decals. That was easy peasy. It was parsing this, and it was more like making sure I had, the decals, the right decals around the right place. I started in the center and moved out. So I did this first ring of lifeboats, and then I did the second ring here. Then I did this third ring, and then finally the fourth ring. And just making doubly, triply sure that I knew which one went where it should be, and those are all correct. So I'm about to throw on some microset here, and then some microsol, and then put on a clear coat and call it good. And then we can move on to the other side of this pizza. Alright, so we have the Aztecs done on the top, and they are sealed with a couple of coats of clear. You can see how clear and shiny that is. Again, they went on fairly well. And again, they're very fragile. I broke a bunch, actually. Broke, which side? This side, you can see I broke that right there. I broke one of these. I broke something over here. Right there. So yeah, again, very fragile. Just don't be overzealous. I guess I was overzealous. So now I'm going to grab the kit decals, and we're going to put those on, and it'll end up looking hopefully like that. So yeah, one thing though, one minor thing on the Aztec decal sheet here. 113 is not mentioned. 112 is, 114, 113 goes right there on the other side. Just a minor thing. It's just an omission. I'm not sure why, but it's not there. But it's not. Just thought I'd bring it up. Again, not a big deal. Alright, so I'm going to get to work on the kit decals, and I'll be back and we'll show that off. Alright, it's done. Finally done. All the decals down. That was a marathon and a half. I did run into one more little oopsie on the instructions. Here it says 35. Over here it says 45. The correct number is 45, because there is no 35 as far as lifeboats go. So that's it. Just that little oopsie. Otherwise, everything else turned out fine, and I'm glad for that. The other cool thing is, if we look over here, we have a bunch of leftover lifeboats, and then, of course, decals. These are all the Syracuse decals, because, yeah, you could build this as a Syracuse if you wanted to, which is kind of cool. It has all the markings, and they're, of course, all in these decals for that ship. Of course, they give you some extra ones for the Enterprise, too. Always nice to see extra decals in case they fall into the floor or accidentally get ripped or anything. These are sturdy decals. The kit decals are awesome. You could throw them around, bend them backwards, twist them into a pretzel, and they'll be fine. It was the Aztecs that were a little fragile. So, I am about to throw some y'all microset on here, then a couple of coats of y'all microsol, which is almost gone. This thing was half full when I started this build. And then we're going to throw a coat of clear on it, and then we're going to, we're going to get working on that. I got to finish the base up. I got to wire my base, or wire that into the base. The base is done. It's just somewhere. That's up there. There's the base. I just have to wire everything together and get that thing on it. And then we'll be ready to assemble, do the final assembly. Mix up a crap ton of 5-minute epoxy and slather the neck there full of it. Or in here. I haven't determined which I'm going to do. The other thing is, I don't even want to touch this thing. That is the kit shuttle bay door, because the other one wasn't working out for me. I couldn't get it to fit, so I said, nah, let's use the kit one. And it's gonna be, I can take it on and off. It's just glued on there with a little bit of the old Elmer's, and I can just pop that off whenever I want to, and I probably will. I'll just set it on there. I could put like a magnet in it and put a magnet in there. I could have done that. Probably should have, but I thought I was going to use the photo etch, so whatever. All right, I'm going to get back to work. All right, we're at another moment of truth. Everything is wired together. The base is wired up. I got these tied together for the saucer mains. They're not soldered together. We got to crank up the old soldering iron here in a little bit and solder them in. And then we can mix up some of our epoxy. I had some earlier. And we could get this on there. The base is epoxy. This is the epoxy I used for the base. To get that in there, you can see, nice and hard. But we lost our blinky flashies. They're gone. They don't work at all. Here is the timing chip I salvaged. I had it in the base. I had everything wired up, and I have literally no idea why they're not working. It's not a power thing. I thought it was a power thing, but it's not, because when you plug in those 3 tiny little 2mm or 3mm bulbs that are 3-volt bulbs, just those 3, and you plug the mains together, no lights, nothing. It wouldn't light up. You could light them independently. You could like plug in those 3 and they light up, or plug in the mains and they light up, but you put them together and no lights. And I thought it was a power issue, but no. These lights, all of the bulbs that are in here, minus the one for the bridge, I didn't even try that one. I just cut that out. But all these lights light up fine, and there's a bunch of LEDs in here, so it's not a power issue. I have absolutely no clue why those weren't working and aren't working. It defies physics. It just boggles my mind. There's no reason that those 3 little bulbs shouldn't be working. I mean, I got like my refit has bulbs all over the place that are all connected together, and none of them just kill all the lights in the entire model. So yeah, we lost our flashers. And so I just took the one off the bridge because, well, nah, I'm not even going to bother. So, everything's tied together, and it does work. I already tested it. All I got to do is solder that. I've got my heat shrink ready to go up and over these, don't do that, connections. And then we can mix up some more epoxy, a bunch more epoxy, and slather the battle bridge area here of the drive section, and then we'll we'll hope and pray that these 2 sections fit together properly, and that'll be that. So I'm gonna get to work, and we'll see what happens. And there she be. She's done. I epoxied the saucer on. Doesn't fit really well. They're kind of you can get it to fit pretty well, kind of on the other side. You can see there's still a little gappage going on here, and then on the top here there is a pretty good gap in here, which I just filled with some paint to take care of a light leak. But it's not perfect. I really wish they'd retool this mold, because it deserves it. The Enterprise, at least. The D does. If they want to build a bigger one, that'd be nice too, but they're not going to do that. So yeah, that's that's the Enterprise D. Yeah, as I just said, there's a light leak around the around this edge here that I took care of, hopefully, and then around this the connection, this saucer connection to the neck, and I got this thing down. You can see the well, the shuttle bay looks there. The shuttle's in it, and this thing just sets up here. I should have magneted this because it keeps falling off. I might just glue it in place. You don't really see the lights in here too well, so you know. Speaking of lights, let's kick her on there. You can see those warp engines are very bright, almost a little too bright, honestly. You want them bright, but they light up the entire rear of the ship. They light up in here, and the studio model didn't do that. They were a little more subtle than this. Again, something else to bear in mind when we build the ship again someday, which we will do. I forgot to paint that orange. That should be orange around there, and the light should be blue. I forgot a lot of little things, a lot of little lights. There should be lights in here. There should be a light up here. That's fine. This is take one at the Enterprise D. So I'm gonna turn some more lights off, and we'll get some beauty shots of this. Alright, so that is it for the Enterprise D build. Not sure what I'm going to be tackling next. Maybe I should get back to work on that. I really do actually want to get back to work on that. We'll we'll have to look we'll look at that. Anyways, that has been the Enterprise D. Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to show off. That's one of the reasons I did the gloss paint job, so you could see the lights from the hull reflecting in the base. Let's see if you can see that better without that light on. There we go. So yeah, you can see all those underside lights and the engine lights and the deflector in the base. I thought that was kind of cool. So, alright, that's it for the build. I want to thank everyone for watching. I want to thank all my old subs and my new subs. You guys are equally rad. And until next time, you guys, take care.